Whittaker Weekly is a 3-episode anime discussion podcast where two brothers discuss a show of their choice. The show can be anything from a current season flop to a decades-old classic. What are they going to talk about next? Who knows? They sure don't.
I'm Lee.
And this is Whittaker Weekly. Let's get right into it.
All right. So, not much news this week, but one thing that we're both very excited for is that they have confirmed One Punch Man Season 2 coming April 2019.
One Punch Man Season 2. Huzzah!
I know that some other shows that we've been interested in are coming out soon. What is it? Disenchanted comes out this Friday.
Oh, that is Friday, isn't it?
So there's that coming up too. Anything on your mind?
Anything on my mind? Well, how about the fact that I just barely pulled up my news feed on my phone here, and Blizzard has announced Diablo 3 for the Nintendo Switch.
That's a biggin'.
Well, that's a biggin'. I played Diablo 3 on the PS4 with some buddies and just had a blast. It was a lot of fun just doing couch co-op with Diablo 3. I may pick it up for the Switch just because I have a bunch of friends who have the Switch, and it'd be a lot of fun to play Diablo 3 on the go. It probably won't last very long. Yeah, you do. You do. Patrons. Let's have some more patrons so we can get my brother a Nintendo Switch.
This is all for you.
All for you. It's going to be $60, and it comes with Reaper of Souls and Rise of the Necromancer that are both expansions for the original game.
So for those of you listening, yes, join us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, help support us on our Patreon page, and if we get enough money, we may just start a Twitch stream where we're playing things of this nature.
If there's interest in a Twitch stream, then definitely that's something we can definitely pick up. Okay. That literally just barely came up in my news feed, so I wasn't planning on talking about any news tonight just because we've got a big show we want to go ahead and cover. We've got a lot to talk about, and both of us want to go ahead and go back and watch more of it as soon as we're done recording this episode.
The first 3 episodes, the reason we do a 3 episodes in is because it usually takes 3 episodes of an anime to really, get under your skin and get you into what's going on. I mean, if you just give it 1 episode, it's usually not enough, but 3 episodes can really hammer it home. And for me, this was also the case, because what they did at the end of episode 3, well, yeah, we'll be watching the rest of this as immediately as possible. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So what are we watching this week?
This week we are watching... Excuse me. This week we are watching Nisekoi. And Nisekoi translates from Japanese into English as false love. Like Nisemono is like a liar or a fake,
Okay.
Mono meaning like a physical object, physical person type thing. And Nisei is false. So koi is like love between two people. So Nisekoi is false love.
Yes.
But let's go ahead and give you the synopsis that was taken from Crunchyroll. Yep. Raku Ichijo is an average high school student. He also happens to be the sole heir to the head of a Yakuza family called the Shuei-gumi. The Shuei-gumi. 10 years ago, Raku made a secret promise, with a girl he met. They promised one another they will get married when they reunite. Since then, Rocket never let go of the pendant the girl gave him. Now, that sounds like a very standard...
All of that information gets covered in the first 5 minutes of the first episode.
Yeah.
And that's really not enough to sell you on what the selling point of this show really is.
Yeah, it's not the best synopsis. It's all true, and it also comes across as kind of a dry synopsis for, just kind of a drama. This is not a drama at all. There are tense moments, but the tense moments are because of the comic gold that we have here. And let's go ahead and just jump into the first 3 episodes of this amazing show, Nisekoi.
All right. So this show starts off with our main character, Ichijo, cooking. And he's going through the motions of doing all this cooking in a what looks like a professional chef's kitchen. Possibly at a restaurant. It's very professional, a very large kitchen for producing large meals, and he's in there alone. And he's doing a masterful job doing all the things necessary to prep these amazing meals alone. And then, because it's anime, and anime has the magical power of making anything look hyper cool and hyper interesting, he even discards his hat and apron and chef's coat. I don't know what that is even called. And he discards it, and it automatically hangs itself up on a hanger in a closet nearby.
Kind of showing that he's a master in the kitchen.
He is a grandmaster of the kitchen, of the culinary arts. And then he peeks his head out of the kitchen and says, "Hey, you scum," and turns, "Your breakfast is ready." And we see several shots of what's got to be 30 Yakuza henchmen.
All going, hey! And they've got they've got the scars and the tattoos, and they all just look super, super intense and tough.
Yes. And you're thinking, this guy's way outnumbered. How is he getting away with saying this to these guys? And it doesn't take even a second for them to completely break character and go, "Oh, the young master is brilliant at cooking. I absolutely love these breakfasts."
I think we're spiking on the audio a little bit. Yep.
All right.
Let's just turn it down just a little bit. I can do it here. Turn down the gain a little bit.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, that should be better. Yeah. Sorry about that. We weren't trying to spike the audio. We're trying to experiment and get some better sound quality for you guys who've been listening to the podcast. Things are just a little bit out of balance there.
It's all right. We'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll make it work. All right. Anyways.
So yeah, that's how that. So this cooking montage ends with the entire Yakuza clan to basically saying how the boss's kid, the heir to the Yakuza clan, is absolutely a brilliant chef, and they all love him to death.
They all absolutely adore him, and they're saying, "We can't wait for you to take over the family. You're going to be so great as being the leader of this clan." And he's like, "How many times do I have to tell you guys? I have no interest in becoming a Yakuza. I'm going to go to
a prestigious university, and then I'm going to become a civil servant, and I am going to head forward on the straight and narrow, looking directly into the sun."
Pretty much. And they all just adore him, so no matter what he says, they just eat up the words. So yeah,
he's so great.
Just the sheer love the Yakuza thugs have for Raku is just incredible. The next bit is that after that he goes off to school, but right before he leaves, his dad says, in the next couple of days I'm going to have something really important to talk to you about, so make sure you've got some time. And Raku's just like, oh, that's kind of weird, but okay, sure. And so he goes off to school, and he gets to school, and he pulls out the locket that we saw in the opening montage, where he gets the locket from the little girl that he met when he was a little boy, where they promised to marry each other.
Yep.
And he's just kind of absentmindedly spinning this locket around, and that speaks to me, because back in high school I was such a nerd that I bought and this was before the Lord of the Rings movies had even come out. I bought a ring and a copper ring and a copper chain from a dollar store, and I wore the one ring around. And the people who knew what it was thought that it was awesome. Most people had no idea. But Lord of the Rings came out in 2001 was the first movie, I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was doing that my junior year when I was doing that, so that was 99 when I started doing that. So it was a bit before.
Yeah, I had a couple of years of doing it beforehand.
Yep. And I would just as kind of to fidget, I would spin it around the chain.
No, absolutely.
It drove Dad crazy.
Of course it drove Dad crazy, because you're spinning around this metal thing in a room full of glass tables.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And,
Yep. Anyways. We then meet Chitoge. I believe that's how it's spelled. Yeah, Chitoge. We see this blonde girl running to school, complaining about how she's going to be late. She's got the toast in her mouth.
Oh, they play up the toast in the mouth trope.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a montage of quick cuts.
And she's running, and then not only is she running, but in order to get a better chance of getting over the school fence, because that's what her goal is, she backs up and starts doing gymnastic flips and stuff.
Oh yes, they do extreme close-ups of the footwork that she's doing, and silhouettes of the postures that she's adopting to try to get over this.
And she
very acrobatic.
She jumps over the fence with a spin. The bread flies out of her mouth. She catches it again and
like a dolphin leaping out of
dolphin leaping out of a pool. Yep, just grabs it again, and then she jumps over the fence. And as she's coming down, knees first. Raku looks up and sees her, and she notices Raku just as she's coming down, and she knees him right in the face, and his locket just goes flying.
Yeah.
But he doesn't realize it till later in the episode.
Yeah, the concussion may have made him forget that he didn't have it on him.
But she says, sorry, I'm running late. I'm so sorry. I'm going to be late. And so she just gets up and just runs off and leaves him there. And he goes to class and he opens up the door and he's just got blood coming out of his nose and he's got the bruise on across his nose. And
that's when we're introduced to the brunette.
Onodera Kosaki. But he just calls her Onodera. And Onodera, she gets super worried about him, and she takes the band-aid out and puts it over his nose and says, no, it can get infected, you got to take care of this. And so she puts a band-aid over it, and she's a super sweet girl, and he's completely into her, and he realizes that this is the first time he's ever been this close to her, and so he freaks out about it.
I think it's at this moment, but there's a scene where she praises him, and he suddenly cut to him running faster than a bullet train.
That's episode 3.
Is that happening?
That's episode 3.
But these things keep happening to him where it goes into his imagination. And I'm trying to remember what the clip was.
There's nothing really fancy about the first time. It's just that he's kind of standing there, and then there's all these hearts around him, like these artistic hearts. Yes, and his best friend, who, in the first 3 episodes, this guy is supposedly Raku's best friend. And we've never learned his name. His name is never spoken. Like, we even get clips where it's like the commercial break and we'll show a character and we'll show their name. His has never shown up. So, I don't know at this point if that's just going to be a running gag that he's the best friend that we never learn what his name is. Or, they just haven't had a chance to really reveal what his name is yet. Even though they've had plenty of opportunities. But yeah, he so his best friend says, "Good for you," because he's totally aware that he's into Onodera. So we then cut to class. And the teacher
he's just
says,
daydreaming. He just got the silliest expression on his face.
He was so happy to be so close to Onodera, and
she touched my face.
Pretty much, and the teacher comes in and says, "Class, we have a transfer student starting today." Everyone's like, "That's weird. It's a weird time of year to have a transfer student." And she says, "Come on in," and it's Chitoge. And Chitoge comes in, and
who, by appearance, by the way, is blonde with pink tips.
Yes.
So she's got long blonde hair with pink tips, and our other girl is the brunette with the short hair with there's one long strand.
Yeah, she's got the one long strand, like we saw that in Lane and stuff like that, where there was just the one long strand. Yeah, she comes in, introduces herself, says that she's great at Japanese, so don't worry about holding back and becoming friends with me. And the teacher and everyone's like, "Oh well, she's amazing. She's half Japanese. Her mom's Japanese. Her dad's American.
Yeah.
Moved back to Japan for business." And the teacher says, "Okay, that's great. How about for now? How about for business?" And And so the mom says, or not the mom, the teacher says, well, how about you just, for now, go ahead and just find a seat at the back, and we'll, and we'll go ahead and get started with the class. And she says, okay. And then it cuts to Raku finally realizing who the transfer student is, and they both recognize each other instantly.
Now, you were telling me before that in Japanese society, everybody wears masks, and the fewer masks you wear with somebody, the closer they are to each other.
Yeah.
And how do these two start behaving around each other?
Like old enemies.
No pretense.
No pretense, no nothing. They just immediately start hurling insults at each other. And he says, "You're the barbarian woman," and the entire class just goes, "Barbarian?" And then she's like, "Oh, you're that spindly little dweeb," or something like, "You're the bean sprout. You're that bean sprout." And so they just start hurling insults back and forth. And this is one of the things I love about this show. This show has such great visual aids and visual humor. When she was introduced to the class, it's very obvious that Raku is sitting near the back. But when she is introduced to the class, it's you see a shot from behind of her, and you see just a massive amount of space between her, the wall, and the class. And the entire class is up and cheering and just being super happy and excited about it. Well, it then cuts to when the two of them are arguing. The only furniture in the entire room is the desk that Raku is sitting at. And then it's her standing in front of that. And the classroom is bare, except for the two of them arguing at each other. We see it from the side. And then we see the classroom as like heads up front, as if they were an audience watching a show. The show just has amazing visual humor and visual aids to go along and to just help add to the scenes and stuff. I really, really enjoyed that. But anyways,
they have a montage. They have a sequence of scenes that each one of them starts with the first time he met her, the second time he met her, the 11th time they've met.
It just keeps getting worse and worse every single time. I'm trying to remember. I think this is in episode 1 where it's during gym class during episode 1.
Yes.
And
it's not. It's before gym class is when he realizes that he doesn't have the locket anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when he demands that she help him look for it because it's her fault that it got lost.
Yep. And she's like, "You were the one who's spinning it around. I wouldn't have lost it if you hadn't kneed me in the face when you were jumping over the fence, So, and she, out of, obligation, she agrees to help him, but she doesn't like it a bit.
No.
And she says to him, "I don't like people who hold on to stupid things from the past." And that really, really, gets him, because that locket is very important to him, and it's about a part of his past, a promise that he's holding on to.
Yes. Now, then at gym class.
At gym class, we see her do more amazing acrobatic stuff. And he actually, like, during their first argument, there's in front of the entire class, when she first comes into class, there's this amazing argument or amazing shot where he wants to say something so badly, and then it just zooms in through his eye and into his brain and into his very cells, the fabric of himself, and something snaps.
Yes. And it looks like an aneurysm has just happened.
And then it cuts back to him, and he just says, "You monkey woman!" And that's when she strikes him in front of him.
The subtitles keep reading gorilla. But yes.
And she punches him in front of the entire class. So, and so we cut back to gym class, and she does this amazing routine on the balance bars, showing that she's just got this amazing gymnastic skill. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's incredible!" And he's sitting on the far side of the field with his best friend, and his best friend's like, "Man, how did you ever, when did you get so close to her?" He's like, "Well, I'm not close with her. She's terrible," And he sees her do this amazing routine, and he's kind of, it looks like he's looking at her with respect for the first time, but then he's just like, man, she's more and more like a monkey every minute. And then she hurls a dumbbell at his face, slams
from
it against
across the field.
From across the field,
nails
she's
him.
chucked this thing against his face, and then she throws an oil barrel at him, and he gets out of the way, and then we see her running at him with an oil barrel when he's like shouting for her to stop.
And I just realized the Donkey Kong reference.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! He called her a monkey, and she sure throws an oil barrel at him. Like that's not helping your case.
That's not helping your case. That's not helping your case, sweetie.
Oh, this show.
This show is amazing. Anyways, So we go back and forth between school and home and stuff like that while he's looking for the pendant and she's helping him and stuff. And he's thinking about how she just almost always instantly turns to violence. You know, she's such a terribly violent person. What kind of an environment was she raised in to where she would just turn to violence so quickly? And then it cuts to behind him, a couple Yakuza coming in all bruised up and beaten. It's like, that gang is back. That's the third time this week. We'll show them what for, boys. And he's just like, actually, no, I can understand that. And then anyways.
And then it cuts to, and this is the point where it does say,
mm-hmm.
the 11th time they met.
Mm-hmm.
And he's walking down the halls of his own home,
mm-hmm.
which is this beautiful...
Oh, wait, not yet. They find the pendant first.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, they go searching for... Okay, so
mm-hmm.
they spend a lot of time searching for the
mm-hmm.
pendant, and there's a major argument mm-hmm. between the two of them.
Before this happens, though, I want to talk about the scent that he smells. She walks by him one day after they argue about something. She just walks by and he gets this nostalgic scent coming off of her. And there's all
very
these
familiar about that smell. What is
there's
that
some
smell?
Amazing hints that maybe this is the girl that you met way back then, you know. Anyways, that's something I just wanted to mention, just the fun hints and stuff that they drop throughout. Stuff that could very possibly be obvious to the audience and not obvious to Raku. Mm-hmm. But anyways, they're out there searching one day, and that's when she says, I can't stand a guy who can't let go of the past.
Yes.
And Onodera has her committee meeting. She's part of the student council or something like that. It ended early, and so she's like, oh, well, maybe I can go ahead and help Raku find his necklace, his pendant. Mm-hmm. And so she runs in on them just as Raku yells at Chitoge. And he yells at her, and they get into this huge fight, and the fight is once again reflected in just the scenery around them, and a storm starts he's like, fine, don't bother about helping me, just go away. And she says, fine, and she just goes off. And Onodera wants to say something, but then Raku says to herself, I can't believe I yelled at a woman like that, you know. And that's kind of where that bit ends. And then fast forward a little bit, and he
it's like the next morning he's talking to Onodera.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's the next I think it's the next afternoon. He's talking with Onodera, and Onodera says, oh, hey, Chitoge, or they don't call each other by their last names, or first names, but whatever. She says, Chitoge is looking for you. And he's like, what on earth would that monkey want to do with me? And it cuts to Chitoge, and she's winding up like a baseball pitcher.
Yes.
And she throws this thing at him, slams it against his head.
It leaves a trail of light, and it's just this amazing baseball pitch that is perfect in every way.
It's
right
the kind of baseball pitch you'd
his
see.
Eyes.
It's the kind of baseball pitch you'd see in Dragon Ball Z. Just the, you know,
right between the eyes.
Mm-hmm. And did I spit on you?
No, you're fine.
Okay,
you're fine. You're fine. I have cats.
Oh, gotcha. But he's about to yell at her when he realizes that she threw the pendant at him, and she walks away. And Onodera says, "Oh, she kept looking for it, and she kept looking for it when you weren't around because she didn't want to see you. She didn't want you to see her looking for it."
Yeah.
And then he starts thinking to himself, well, maybe she's not that bad of a person after all. And he goes home that day, and that's when we see the 11th time they met. And it's painted in very, very stylized Japanese on the doors, or on the doors of the hallway in his house. And his dad that's when his dad grabs him and says, "Oh, that's time for that very important meeting that I talked to you about."
Yes, and his dad drops the bombshell that this gang from the States has moved in to their territory.
Yeah, and they
call them gangsters.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that the subtitles call one side gangsters and the other side Yakuza, which makes me think that it's a foreign entity.
It is.
Moving in.
Yeah, it's in the opening of episode 2, they very, very strongly hint that it's the mob that's been moving in.
It's the mob.
But they just I don't think they have a word for the mob in Japanese, so the word that they use is gang. And that's just how it translates into English.
Okay.
But yeah, the Yakuza and the mob are two very different organizations.
Yes. Well, their Yakuza organization is going to have a full-out war with what's called the Beehive Gang. And the only way that they can stop the war with the Beehive Gang is if you agree for the next 3 years to pretend to be the boyfriend of his of their leader's daughter.
They don't let 3 years slip until after they introduce who the girlfriend's gonna be.
Yes.
They think it's gonna only last for a couple of weeks. But he just says, "What? No, Dad, no, I can't do that." And the dad turns and says, "Oh, do you have a girlfriend already?" Just big blushing face. It's like, "No, I don't." "Well, fine, then you'll be good, because this is the only way we can stop a war." And because the son wants to stop the war. He doesn't want...
Well, yeah, because he knows all of these guys. He's made them breakfast. He loves them, even if he doesn't want to be one of them when he grows up.
They're his family, pretty much.
Yeah.
But he's like, "But it's okay. It turns out but the boss says this after having the Yakuza thugs, the soldiers, ushered out. Yes. So it's just him and the son.
Yes.
And he says, "It turns out the leader of the Beehive Gang is an old friend of mine. And he has a daughter just your age. And so you two are going to date." And he's just like, "Wait, what? No, Dad, I can't do that. That's terrible." And then the dad walks over, and that's when he hears her voice.
And the slow dawning realization on his face. That distorts his vision. Like, every once in a while, the show goes into manga mode. Where it just pans around from panel to
It's very
panel.
much like Furikuri like that, where it just goes into manga mode. But he just kind of realizes it, and then he hears the voice of Chitoge, and he's just like, and then it suddenly all fit together. The reason that she was so violent, the reason for her, for the fact that she came to school, she transferred schools at such a weird time, and and that scent that she had, the scent of gunpowder.
Oh, gunpowder smell, that brings me back.
Well, but he couldn't place it at first. He's like, "That's a weird smell. It just kind of takes me back,
Yes.
And yeah, so that's why I wanted to make sure we brought up the scent, because it's such a great twist of expectations where you think, "Oh, it's gonna smell like the girl that of his memories with the girl." Yeah, no, it smells like gunpowder.
Yeah. It totally
And then
does.
the dad opens the door, and the girl's just like, "What? I don't want to do this. No, my heart isn't prepared for it." "What?" And then they both see each other, and they're just like, "No!" And then they're just like, "Yeah, we need you two to pretend to be boyfriend and girlfriend for 3 years." And then it shows a calendar montage of just 3 years going by, and they're just like, "And that's what happened to my high school life." And then that's the end of episode 1.
And then episode 1 ends with them playing the opening credits. which you then realize are the opening credits because the episode 2 starts with them again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice little
It's kind
scene.
of I kind of enjoyed the opening and closing credits for this one. There are a couple of spoilers here and there for it. Like I really don't like it when opening credits have spoilers in them, especially when they're obvious ones.
Right.
I mean, I've already talked about the One Piece opening credits where they had Robin, a member of the Straw Hats, while she was still a villain in the arc.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a pretty obvious spoiler in the opening credits that there are 2 keys.
I noticed that.
Yeah, and I'm just like, come on, guys, why did you do that?
Yeah.
2 keys for the one locket, and we don't know which one opens the locket. But the opening credits I did enjoy because it focuses a lot on Raku, and the closing credits focuses on Chitoge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it's kind of interesting that they did that. But anyways, I love the opening of episode 2 because if you've ever watched a trailer for a Yakuza movie, it's like a shot-for-shot recreation of those trailers, what shows like one scene and then like, you know, calligraphy kanji, like, you know, across the screen, bam, 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 and then another shot and then bam, 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 you know. And that's what it was. It showed like Yakuza and then Sicily, or I don't know if it was Sicily, but it was something that was heavily implied that it was the mob.
Uh-huh.
Just like the opening for episode 2 is very much like a recreation of a trailer for a Yakuza movie. So, oh man, this show.
So, the opening... so, episode 2 opens with the realization that there's going to be a war between these 2 organizations. And the entire side of this guy's house gets blown out by the mob.
Mm-hmm. Well, as soon as they pretty much say, yeah, we want you two to date, the kids start arguing back and forth. They're just like, no, that's a terrible idea. Why on earth would I want to date her? Why on earth would I want to date him? He's a horrible person, you know? And then and they're like, but if you guys don't date, war is going to break out. And they're just like, it couldn't be that bad. And then all of a sudden, boom, the side of the house explodes and in come the mob.
It becomes a very, very serious situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have because the mob thinks the Yakuza kidnapped the blonde, Chitoge.
Mm-hmm.
And so they came to rescue her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, you're mistaken. That's an easy enough mistake to understand.
They walk in, actually, and then the Yakuza join in as well, and they're about to...
you've crossed the line. How far do you think you'll let you go with this?
Mm-hmm.
You have crossed the line, and
pretty much
blood will be spilled. And so they're ready to kill each other when the dads bring the kids together.
Well,
and then at the exact same time... they talk to
that's a simple mistake to make.
Because
she wasn't actually kidnapped.
There's a guy with silver hair and glasses
Mm-hmm.
is the head enforcer of the mob under the main boss.
Claude is his name.
Claude.
Mm-hmm.
Claude is there ready to do battle with the Yakuza and wipe them out for daring to kidnap this precious little girl that he's watched over his entire life, or for her entire life. Then he doesn't realize his own boss is like, what boss?
What are you doing here? It's like, these two are actually dating. We gave them our blessings. What?
They push the kids into each other, and both dads at the same time, and I quote, say, "These two are a couple who are totally hot for each other." Mm-hmm. They both utter that exact same phrase at the exact same time.
And the at first it's the Yakuza who said, like, the Yakuza and the mob are both just like, wait, what? And then the Yakuza walk over to the young master and they're just like,
we're so proud of you.
They immediately break down into tears and just, they're so happy for him. They're just like, we were so worried about you because you hadn't had a girlfriend yet this entire time, but now you've got a girlfriend who's a total hottie. Way to go! And he says, wait, no, why on earth would I be dating this gorilla woman? And she says, yeah, why would I date this bean sprout? That's terrible. And then you hear a gunshot goes off and hits the wall right next to Raku's head.
Yeah.
And it's revealed that it's Cloud, and Cloud says, what did you say about our precious leader, our leader's precious daughter? And then
a katana.
And then the leader of the thugs, of the Yakuza thugs, buries a katana in the wood and it stops just inches from Chitoge's neck. And he said, "What did you call our young master?" And they both realize we're dead if we don't do something right now. And so they immediately put up the act about being lovey-dovey and how, "Oh, I just meant that she's graceful and beautiful like a gorilla."
She's just adorable like a gorilla.
She's adorable like a gorilla.
Like,
and he's like, "Yeah, and I happen to love bean sprouts. They're my favorite vegetable," or something like that, you know?
They backpedal as quickly as they can, as awkwardly as they can.
And the Yakuza fall for it immediately, and most of the mob fall for it as well, all except for Cloud. Cloud isn't buying it completely. And after they pretend to be a couple for that night, and everybody's gone off, the two of them are sitting on a staircase outside, and they're just talking back and forth, and she says, "By the way, what on earth is that pendant? Like, why was it so important to you?" And he explains how it was a promise that I made with somebody, you know. It was a promise that I made to somebody 10 years ago, and I wanted to keep that promise. And that's when it's revealed that she's like, "Oh, I don't," but he's like, "But you don't care about stuff like that." And she's like, "Actually, no, I don't care. What upsets me is when people can't let go of the past, when they let it control them."
Yeah,
or
mostly grudges.
Grudges and things like that. That's what she can't stand. But she actually likes romantic ideas like that. And she's got this adorable smile on her face, and, you know, that's when he realizes that she can be cute too, but they immediately ruin it for each other by, you know, continuing to talk and just be terrible to each other. But I'm trying to remember, does the date come first, or does their confrontation at school come first?
It's the next morning.
Uh-huh.
Confrontation at school. No.
Meaning Claude stalking them at school.
Claude doesn't stalk them. Okay, no, the date comes first. Because what happens is he wakes up early in the morning. He wakes up early in the morning, and then he's saying hi to all the Yakuza, like, morning young.
They say somebody's here for you, and he's like, "Morning young," and he's walking past all the Yakuza doing their morning routines of like brushing their teeth and gargling and stuff like that. Yeah,
because the house is just crowded with too many.
Oh yeah,
Yakuza.
Yeah.
And so he goes to the front door, and it does this panning shot from the feet up of this girl in a beautiful summer dress with the bright, and then it gets to her face, and her face doesn't match the picture at all.
Her face is extremely nervous and nerve-wracking. He's just like, "Hello, darling. Would you like to go on a date?"
I'm sorry, right now? Yeah, because right behind her
is Claude,
who insists on observing them dating because he's not convinced.
"Hello, darling. Would you like to go on a date with me? I'm sorry for the short notice. Would you like to go on a date with me right now?" Yeah. And then they go out on a date, and they just can't handle it. He keeps walking, and she just collapses in tears and stuff. And you just cut, and like he's glancing around, and he sees Yakuza guys watching them from like behind cars and stuff. Yeah, and there's just some great visual gags.
They're being observed by everybody.
Like, it's a scene where you could probably watch it without sound at all and subtitles and still know exactly what's happening, just because of the great visual gags. Especially with like there's this great shot of Cloud in an alleyway watching them, right next to a poster that says "No stalking."
Oh man! And
he's just like, "Oh crap! What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?"
Now what's great is so on this date they end up going to the movies, and the two of them don't agree on what movie to watch. Because she wants to watch the action film that has the greatest explosion she's ever seen, and he wants to watch the tearjerker. They're guaranteed you need at least 4 Kleenexes to get through this.
Yep. There is a real fast though. Another one of my favorite parts is that Raku's just like, "I don't know what to do on a date. Like, I've never gone on a date with anybody before. Why on earth? Like, what on earth am I supposed to do?" And then he thinks, "Oh wait, no. What about all the times I daydreamed about going on a date with Onodera, and with Onodera." And then he has like, the first thing we do is we go to we'd go to a cafe, then we'd go to a movie, and she'd cling to me because it'd be too scary, and then we'd go to we'd have a great dinner together, and then we'd go for a walk in the park and wrap up. And he's like, okay, let's go ahead and do that. He goes to a coffee shop. She hates the beans they're using. They go to a movie, and then they have the argument about what movie to watch, and then finally they pick a movie that's supposed to be like a romantic movie for couples, and she sleeps through it. Yep. They go to dinner, and she complains about it the entire time, but like
but then continually orders more and more plates. She has like 20 plates stacked around her, 20 or 30.
And then they wind up in the park. Yep, then they wind up in the park.
Now, at some point, before the park, they get separated for a time.
She sends him to go get her a soda.
Yes.
Because she's thirsty. He's like, fine, I'll do it. And he just goes off. And that's right. That's when she starts standing. That's when she gets approached by the
so a quartet of punks start surrounding her and start propositioning her. Hey, let's have a good time. You're here by yourself. And she's getting madder and madder and madder. And moments before, and she is just about to lay waste to these boys for harassing her. And there are some Yakuza guys nearby. The mob guys are actually nearby too, like, because these guys might end up being completely toast. Because Clyde is nearby as well. And that is when Ichijo, Raku, rushes in, stands between her and the guys as she's about to throw the first punch, and has to stop herself from hitting him. And then he grabs, says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we got separated. She doesn't speak a word of Japanese. You'll excuse us," and then runs off with her.
With her in tow.
And so, in my mind, I'm just thinking, he just saved those 4 guys' lives. And they may never know.
Yeah, because it wasn't just her that was ready to attack them. It was the mob who was preparing to attack them as well.
So, that was adorable.
Well, and then they end up in the park, and she says, I could have taken care of myself. And he says, yeah, you could have. I don't doubt that. But
you got to pick your battles.
But you have to pick your battles. Fighting people like that makes you no better than people like that. And she blushes to herself and, like, she goes off to the bathroom, and he says, where are you going? She's like, I'm going to the bathroom. Stop asking. And then, while she's going to the bathroom, he just starts thinking to himself, how on earth did this? He's talking out loud, thinking, how on earth did this happen to me? Why am I on a date with her? Oh, I'd so much rather be on a date with Onodore. She's so much nicer than Chitoge. And it turns out Onodore is standing right next to him. But she saw him, and she came up to him just in time for her to hear him say her name. So,
like, oh, did you see me? Were you? I heard you call out to me.
Yeah.
What were you thinking about?
Yeah, what were you thinking about? And it freaks him out all the more. And he's just like, crap, I've got to tell her. But if I tell her, she might be in danger because these guys are going to come across us and maybe kill me. For it, and probably kill her as well. But she is the one person in the entire world I do not want thinking I am in love with Chitoge. And she
and that's when we cut to the bathroom.
And Chitoge is just cleaning her hands and grumbling and complaining about about Raku. And she overhears the Yakuza saying, "Man, they don't seem lovey-dovey at all. They're more different than they were at the
house." Nothing but griping and complaining.
Yeah, I mean, something weird's going on. I don't know. I don't think they're a lovey-dovey couple at all. And she's just getting more and more freaked out because, they're catching on that it's an act. And so she goes out of the bathroom, like, reinvigorated to fake this relationship.
Because she knows for sure how many people are watching.
And she runs up and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry I kept you waiting, my darling." And as soon as she didn't know that Onodore was there until right after she says, "my darling." And Onodore's just like, wait, did she just say darling? Does that mean you two are a couple? Are you two on a date? And that completely crushes Raku. And Raku is trying his hardest. He knows he can't say it, but he doesn't want her to know, and so it's destroying him.
So he's trying his hardest.
Chitoge is just
close.
doubling down because she knows they are dead if this gets out, and so she keeps he's about to say something and she jumps in front of him and changes it, and he's about to blurt it out and she stomps on his foot and says, "Oh wait, no, that's right, there's something that I remembered I have to do. I'll go on ahead, I'll see you later,"
and then she does this walk. What is that walk? I've seen it in anime a bunch of times.
It's just an angry comic walk, just walking away.
Okay.
I don't know if it actually has a name or if it's an homage to something. If anybody does know, let us know.
Yes.
But she does this walk that's very animated, where she's like kind of hunched down and her arms are out and her legs are like really bow-legged and real bow-legged and stuff like that. But she this entire time, Raku has been really, really upset because he's been wanting to talk to Onodore about the locket, because he had kind of this feeling that she knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he finally asks her when it's just the two of them, and he says, by the way, that necklace that I got back the other day, have you ever seen it before? And she panics a little bit. But then she says, no, I've never seen it before in my entire life.
And reading her body language, you get the feeling that she very much... She likes him, but doesn't want to get in the way of the relationship he's in right now. And so she's attempting to be diplomatic by lying outright at this moment. And just, not trying to get in between them.
And she goes off, and he goes after Chitoge again. I'm trying to remember how the date ends. Oh, that's right. She's complaining that it took him so long, and he's offering her some bean cakes.
Yes.
He's like, here, I love these things. It's my way of apologizing to you for just now. And then she's like, wait, what are these? He's like, they're really, really good. Like, you should, they're not from my favorite place, but these ones are still really good. And she's like, oh, okay. And she opens up the bag, and she's like, oh, the things that I hate. Once again, showing how completely opposite those two are.
Yes. And then it cuts to the brunette's house.
Onodore.
Onodore.
I mean, that's her last name. Her first name is, let me go ahead and pull it up here. Whoops. I don't want that one. I want...
And Onodore goes... Kosaki goes into her room. Goes home. Goes into her room. Collapses on her bed and says, I just told him a lie. Now it's going to be even harder to confess to him.
Oh, and she goes over to her desk, and this is something that I thought was absolutely adorable. She has a picture of him on her desk. And it's this picture of somebody winning a race at school. And
not him.
Yeah, well, and then the camera zooms up and shows him in dead last. Just like him struggling just to complete the race. And that's the only picture she has of him, and it's a picture of him losing a race.
But she adores it.
He's like, I lied to him, and now it's going to be that much harder for me to tell him the truth.
Is it that point that she pulls out the key?
Yeah, she
reveals that she has...
That she's one of the two girls with the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the end. That's the end of episode 2.
Episode 3 starts with an extended flashback of what happened before. It shows a girl reading a book, crying, and he decides that he's going that to help her feel better, he rewrites the ending of her. He's like, "Why are you sad?" Well, this picture book has a really sad ending. So he climbs up to where she is, and then he takes out a pencil and rewrites the ending of the book so that it has a happy ending, and it makes her smile. It's like, "Oh, that's really good. You're amazing." And so she says, "What's your name?" And he introduces himself and he says, "What's your name?" And she says, "My name is," and then her mouth flaps, but there's dead silence. And then he wakes up and he goes, "It has been a while since I had that dream. But if you're going to show it to me again, at least show me some more."
And then he just freaks out about it and starts rolling around his room and stuff like that.
Yes.
And yeah, that's how episode 3 starts.
Yep, cut to the opening credits.
Gosh. So yeah, episode 3 starts off with them starts off with them going to school, and Chitoge is just zombified.
Because she spent the last 2 days having to field questions from the mob who want to know all the juicy details.
About the hot date that she went on.
And it cuts to what looks like a press conference. Photographs are being taken. She's in front of
microphones are being shoved in her face. And he says, "Oh, you too, huh?" So yeah. He's like, "Yeah, I guess we can both understand that, can't we?"
They so get each other.
And they so hate each other. But so they go to school, and they're just like, "I don't know. I don't have the strength to do this for 3 years. Do we really have to do it for 3 years? Really? Really?" And he's just like, "Well, at least we can go. At least we have the. That's right. At least we have the option of knowing that we can just relax here at school. No one knows we're dating. No one. There's no one here watching us. We can just be ourselves here. We at least have school." And they open up the door. They wish. They open up the door to their classroom, and he sees Onodera, and he's thinking to himself, "Oh, Onodera saw us on the date, but she's not the type of girl who would, blab to people about that." And then the entire classroom he sees Onodera, and she looks up at him kind of with a blush on her face, and everybody in the class just explodes and starts saying, "Oh, you guys are it's so great, you guys are a couple, you guys make the perfect couple together." And it turns out
a spotlight shines over them, and then confetti falls.
Confetti falls, and they're just like, "Wait, what? Huh?" And then it cuts to his best friend, who again we don't know what his name is, says, "Oh yeah, these two guys who are named, these two guys saw you while you were out on your date. Yeah, you guys look so great together. You guys make such a great couple. Yeah." And the guys are saying, "Why are you with this loser? Why couldn't you be with me?" And the girls are just like, "Oh, you're so lucky to have a girl like her on your arm," and stuff like that. And they're just like, "What? No, guys, no. This is just a big misunderstanding. We're not a couple." And then they notice Claude watching them from the window.
So the entire class goes, "A misunderstanding? So you're not actually dating?"
You're not actually dating?
Yeah,
and they're all super like depressed all of a sudden, and they notice and the only people who notice it are Raku and Chitoge, and they notice Claude watching them through binoculars from a tree branch right outside the classroom.
Yeah, the tree branch is not 5 feet away from the window. There's a grown man in a tree spying through the window at them.
Before that,
nobody notices.
We should probably say that he asks about Claude on their way to school, and she's like, "Oh, I haven't seen him all morning. I don't know where he is." He's like, "Oh, okay, well, at least we're safe from him for now." Yeah, no, he's watching them because at the end of the date episode, he's just like, "Something's off here. Something's really off here."
The middle episode credit, so there on most anime, and everybody knows this, is that they have a still frame that kind of like this is the still, then the credits, and then another still, and then back to the show. One of those stills is Claude from behind looking into the classroom with bird, and nest on his head.
Yep.
So that's just a callback to this scene.
And then they realize that they have to keep up the act here at school too. They have to. And they're like, "Yeah, we're not a normal couple. We're a love. Like they say a love couple in Japanese, whatever that translates to in the English version. It's like, we're a couple that have the hots for each other. Yeah." And they're just like, "Oh, you had us worried." And it's just like, "Oh, so you guys are a couple now. Oh, isn't it good to be in youth? Let's go ahead and start class," and so
the teacher's in on it.
Yep.
and is encouraging their relationship. Like, "I knew it was a good idea to put you two together to take care of the animals," or something like that.
Yeah, that's something we haven't mentioned yet. At the end of each episode, there's a little gags of because it was Raku's job to take care of the school animals.
Yes.
And there's just little gags at the end of each episode where Chitoge has been assigned to help him as well, and he's introducing her to the animals, and she's like, "Oh, that one looks delicious. Oh, I wonder what part of that one I can cook," and he's named like 60% of the animals, and there's like over. She's like, "How many animals are there?" He's like,
90?
90? You know? And she's like, what? Uh-huh.
And you've named all of them? Half.
About
They
half.
call you call them your family? Well, that's why they're my family. I have to consider their names carefully.
And then one of the animals calls out, and he's like, "Man, Laser Commander Jeffrey, what's going on? What's wrong?" You know, that's not the name, but...
Laser Commander. It's close.
It's close.
Close to Laser Commander. It's amazing.
Yeah, and then
there's like a turtle named like Rembrandt the Fourth.
It's like I think it's Rodriguez the Fourth or something like that.
Something with an R.
Uh-huh.
Something ridiculous with an R.
He's just got he's got ridiculous names for all the animals.
Like,
and he's like, "Well, how about you start naming them?" And she's like,
"Well, just don't name them anything weird."
He's like, "Okay, that one's number 1. That one's number 2.
2.
That one's number 3. Number 4." And he's just like, "No, okay, just stop." But anyways, yeah, there's just cute little gags at the end of each episode.
Just learn the ones that I've already named.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, these animals absolutely loved me. Here, Mr. Kitty, here's your lunch." Scratches him. "Here, Mr. Pigeon," pecks his face.
No, it was a snake that bit him.
A snake that bit him in between. Yes.
And then
the pigeon.
And then I think it's a pigeon that's just like pecking him in the face, and he's just like, ah.
These things despise you, don't they?
And then at the end of episode 3, Onodera shows up to help out feed the animals, and the animals break out of their cages and rush her because of how much they love her.
I missed that part, actually. I need to go back and watch that clip.
But anyways, yeah, so that's why she's like, "Yeah, I'm glad I sent you guys to take care of the school animals together." And he but so the day progresses, and they're forced to be a lovey-dovey couple throughout the day as well, and it's just killing them. He starts talking to when he has a free moment, he starts talking to Onodera again and says that, "Oh, we're not actually a couple, you know, like, why on earth, you know?" And she says, "No, like, you shouldn't say things like that. That's going to hurt, you know, that's going to hurt Chitoge's feelings. And besides, you know, you shouldn't have such doubt in yourself. I mean, it's no doubt she saw something wonderful in you and decided to act on it." And he's just like, "There's nothing wonderful about me. What are you talking about?" And then she lists all these things about him that somebody, you know, the casual observer would not notice.
No, so he's clearly being observed by her. She lays down these compliments on him, on his behavior and things that he's done that is clear evidence that she's totally any third party observer knows she's totally into him.
Well, she's like, "Well, you copy down your Japanese notes to help Chitoge out in class because she's not very good at writing Japanese yet. You help her out with that. You can't...
When the teacher gets people in trouble, you jump in to join in to help with people who are getting in trouble.
Yeah, like when your friends forget their homework, you lie and say you forgot your homework as well, so they're not the only ones who get yelled at. You can't leave an abandoned animal by itself, you know." And she lists a couple other things, and she's like, "And you know, those are some good things about you." And he's just like, "How does she know those things about me?" You know.
Yeah.
And then she gets embarrassed and runs off.
Well, not yet. What happens next is the entire time this conversation is happening, there seems to be a track team running around.
Oh, that's right.
A segment of a track team running around throughout the inside of the school. So they're going back and forth in the background through the halls, and then all of a sudden they bump into her, and a key on a chain falls out of her bag, and the look on her face as she realizes that she dropped the key after she lied about not knowing about that locket. And then she says, my house key. I mean, the key that I thought it was my house key.
And he says, "That's a weird looking key. That's not like it's a fancy old school key."
Yes.
And he's like, "Well, it's way too big to be a house key." So himself, he's like, and she picks up and she's like, "Oh, it's my house key," like immediately. And he's like, "What?" And he's like, No, wait, no. I mistook it for my house key. It's not actually my house key. It's the key to a bookcase in my house, you know." And
she gets hyper embarrassed and runs off in the lightning speed. And runs off in lightning speed. And he goes, "I've known her since middle school, and she's never behaved like this. I wonder what's up."
Yep. I wonder what's going on.
And at that point, at that point is when he wanders over and catches Blonde. Chitoge, making no,
Not just yet.
First, he goes to the bathroom.
Well,
and when he comes out of the bathroom, the sign on the wall is a triangle with his haircut.
Yep.
Is it downward pointing?
It's a downward pointing triangle for male, and it's got like the head is his haircut.
Yes.
So apparently it's a bathroom just for him.
Yes. Because apparently he is the ideal male in this show.
Oh gosh. But
so ideal that he is iconographic.
Something that Onodera points out to him is that you're the only person that's close to her in the entire school.
Yes,
everybody else, like I see her talking to people, but she's not close to them. Whereas you, she's very casual, very approachable. Like you two have a great time together. I totally see why she fell for you. And he's just like, well, no, that's not possible. You know, he starts.
She wouldn't fall for me for these reasons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he on his way, he wants to go talk to. He realizes that he lost his chance to talk to her about the locket, and so he's trying to go find her. And the teacher says,
so he's thinking about talking to her about the locket, and then he realizes that the conversation is going to go very directionally. That it's like, why do you need to tell me that I'm the only? Why would you need to tell me that you're faking a relationship and you can't tell anybody else?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I'd have to confess my love to her, and I'm not ready for that yet.
That's right. We've got a very important thing during the lunch break. He's trying to convince her to say, look, we can both just tell one person who's very close to us about this. And she's like, oh, yeah, go ahead and do that. That's Chitoge. And she gets very upset, and she walks away. And then he's talking to his best friend about it. And his best friend says, well, duh, you're the only person. Like, when he says to his best friend, well, she, it's kind of a hypothetical thing, and he's just like, well, we have a secret, and then the only ones who know about it are us, and I suggested talking, to get some burden off our chests, sharing it with a close friend, so we have, so we don't have so much of a burden on our shoulders. And she got upset and walked away, and his friend's just like, dude, you're the only person that she's close with in the entire school, like, she doesn't have friends like you. She doesn't have anybody other than you.
Yeah.
And that's when he realizes that he starts seeing that, she's had conversations with people and stuff, but has always been at arm's length with them. And he comes out of the bathroom, and he overhears a group of girls talking about her, saying that she's great, but every time we talk to her, there's like this wall about her. Well, maybe she secretly looks down on us, like maybe just deep down in her heart, she looks down on us. And then he decides rather than going and trying to find Onodera, he goes after Chitoge, and he finds her in the classroom. And that's when we see her in the notebook, before
simultaneously trying to learn how to write in Japanese because she's still struggling with it. But what she's doing is she's writing information about her classmates.
Real fast though, we should mention that the entire reason they're even able to be separate at this point is because Claude is on a mission today. So he had no choice to not be there. Yeah. So they actually have some breathing room this afternoon. But she's writing down things. She's like, well, this person's really good at racquetball. Maybe they'll want to talk about sports. And then this person's really good at this. Maybe they'll want to talk about this. Okay, the next time I see these people, I'm going to talk about them, about these things, and I'm going to have a real conversation with them. It's going to be great. And he looks at her, and like he's just kind of dumbfounded that he's seen this. And he walks up, and she notices him, and she freaks out, grabs the notebook, and kind of dares him to make fun of her. And she's blushing. She's very, very embarrassed about all this. Like, how much did you hear? And she talks about how she can't make friends, no matter where she goes. Like, her life just keeps getting uprooted, and all these horrible things keep happening. And he's just like, wow, I guess two people who are raised in similar environments have similar ideas. And she's like, wait, what? I have those notebooks as well. And
yeah, and he goes into detail about how he had a hard time, going from school to school, and just associating with people, that he ended up having to write these notebooks to keep track of different people and their likes and dislikes, and and had to use them so that he would get to know everybody at his school, so that he would at least pretend that he could fit in.
Yeah.
And because of that,
he's not really good at reading people. Mostly.
So,
not really reading people, but he knows a lot of things about people.
He does, and he's volunteered to let her copy his notebooks or use them.
And he flat out says, "Yeah, that girl is good at sports. She would love to talk to you about that." And this other
girl is good at scholastic stuff. If you have any problems learning, talk to her.
She'd be happy to help.
And then this other girl would absolutely love to get to become your friend.
Yep. And they like, he takes her notebook and she starts freaking out about it. It's like, how dare you? Like, it cuts kind of to outside. Well, it kind of cuts a little bit, and they start arguing back and forth once again. And he says, we should make some real friends for you, or just, because we're, pretty much just lets it out that they're faking it,
Yeah.
We're faking it. And
that they're performing.
We're performing.
Putting on a performance.
We're putting on a performance. I forget exactly how the conversation goes, but he then looks at the notebook and gets upset at her because everything she has written about him is just rude.
Yeah. And then we realize that somebody else was listening.
Somebody was listening in, and it cuts out, and we see Chitoge, and she's standing there by the open doorway into the classroom, and she just says to herself, "Performing? What do they mean?" And that's where the episode ends.
And there's just this distraught look on her face of something's going on, and something's not right, and she needs to know. And you just feel for her. And this is the point where we want to stop the show and just go ahead and and just go out and watch it right now. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up the rest of the show right now.
Yeah. So, so you're welcome.
Yes.
Because, and that's to my brother, not to the listeners. You're welcome, Lee. Because when I discovered this show, I watched the first 3 episodes and knew instantly this is a show that we needed to talk about on our podcast. And I held off for weeks to have the opportunity to talk about this show, just because we had some other shows lined up that we wanted to do. But yeah, I waited for weeks to just get the chance to have you watch the first 3 episodes. So
the moment we're done recording,
I'm heading home to watch more of the show because I want to see what happens next.
Okie dokie.
Yeah. So I give this show a rush home to watch it out of 10.
So if you're not watching it by this point in our show, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, seriously. But
all right.
Yeah, that's it. That's it for Nisekoi. I want to watch more. I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, we will be watching more.
And what are we going to be watching for next week?
Believe it or not, there's a large number of classic anime that you've probably seen all of and or own all of that I haven't seen a single episode of because it just is one of the things that I haven't gotten around to. And it's time for me to start delving into some of those anime that I haven't actually gotten a chance to see.
Good.
So next week, we're picking up the old classic Slayers.
Slayers! A show that I watched. I watched this show years ago. Our dad is a very, very light sleeper. He's a very light sleeper. And he, and I discovered this show, and I was watching it with our sisters, and we had such a blast watching it. But we could only watch it at night just because we didn't have time to watch it any other time. And we had to do our best to be so quiet when it came to our laughter, because this show was so funny. Anyways, yeah, we're going to be watching Slayers, the first 3 episodes of the very first season. There are 5 seasons of Slayers. There's Slayers, Slayers Next, Slayers Try, and then Slayers Revolution is 4 and 5. Okay. So,
alrighty.
Okay, well, that's it for 3 episodes in.
And that moves us on to our next segment, Recommendation of the Week.
Recommendation of the Week.
And this week I'm going to recommend a band called Scala and Kolacny Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Now what they are is it's an all-female vocal group with and the Kolacny brothers. One is a conductor and the other's a pianist.
Mm-hmm.
And together, they produce cover songs of pop songs that are these hauntingly beautiful melodies. If you've seen, so some years ago, Alan Arkin wrote the script for made a movie called The Social Network.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a Rashomon style telling of the creation of Facebook, starring Andrew Garfield and Jesse Eisenberg.
Mm-hmm.
The trailer of it, one of the first trailer for that movie, featured a Scala and Kolacny brothers song when they covered Radiohead's "Creep" in a very it's kind of a whispery operatic.
Mm-hmm.
It's haunting. It's beautiful. They also do a version. I absolutely love their version of "Every Breath You Take" from the Police that they did, and they also have "Nothing Else Matters" by Metallica.
Oh, cool.
And so they have some amazing stuff, and I'll link to their official YouTube channel on our website on whittakerweekly.com when this episode comes out.
Good deal.
All right, and that leads us to our creator shout-out.
Our creator shout-out. I discovered this just the other day. There is an amazing Twitter account called Movie Goofs, and it's movie_goofs. And these guys are comic geniuses. Okay? They call out heirs in movies. I'm trying to find a real good one of theirs. All right, here's one. Oh, here we go. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 1981 TV series. Plot hole. After the universe ends, the series keeps going.
That's the whole point.
Let me go ahead and find... I really wanted to find a Star Wars one. I'm going to paraphrase it here, though, but Obi-Wan... Star Wars 1977 plot hole, or inconsistency. I forget exactly which one it is, but they say, Obi-Wan Kenobi claims that that Anakin Skywalker, Luke's father, is dead. However, we see Luke's father is alive and well throughout the rest of the movie. So, here's another one. Spartacus, 1960. Plot hole. In the scene where the Romans try to locate the rebel leader Spartacus in the captured slave army, most of the other slaves also identify themselves as being named Spartacus. The movie never explains this coincidence.
300. Character error. When Xerxes' messenger, Peter Mensa, says, "This is blasphemy, this is madness," Leonidas, played by Gerard Butler, replies, "This is Sparta." But the messenger was using the word "this" to refer to threatening a messenger, not his current geographic location. So this is what this person does, huh?
Yep.
Oh, fantastic.
The Empire Strikes Back, 1980. Yoda, Frank Oz, says, I'm going to let you stop drinking for a little bit, okay?
All right. We have a family tradition not to tell a joke while someone's drinking for reasons.
Yoda says do or do not. There is no try. However, impossible it is to do without trying to do also. Yeah.
Yes, it's a family tradition.
It's a very, very silly, very, very funny Groundhog's Day. or like funny Twitter's account. Here's one. Here's Groundhog's Day.
Right.
Incorrectly regarded as goof. Each time Bill Murray, dies in his dream, he wakes up to hear the radio in the next outer dream. That he ends up fully skilled in real life from his dream training is not a plot hole, but evidence he's still in a dream.
Okay, so their assessment is that the entirety of that movie is a dream sequence.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that'll do.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. Factual error. After Indiana Jones reaches the submarine containing the Ark, the next scene shows him soaking wet, hiding in a base as the submarine arrives. But a human couldn't outswim a submarine over such long distances.
No, he didn't just, go into the submarine and then escape and have to go under the water to get to the dry dock. No, that couldn't have been what happened.
No, he obviously swam, but there's no way a human could outswim a submarine.
No.
Yeah, no. I like to think of it. That's the movie goofs is CinemaSins if it was actually funny.
Ah.
Okay, so here is the outro.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Shots fired. Take that. I don't like CinemaSins. I don't care. All right.
I mean, sometimes they're funny, but they're just so negative.
Yeah. I feel that they try to go for the easy joke too often. Anyways, thanks so much for listening in this week. If you listen to YouTube, please feel free to like and subscribe our channel. If you like what we do and want to support us, please spread the word of our podcast or even support us on Patreon. Where can they find us on social media?
Well, our site, whittakerweekly.com, has links to both our Twitter page and our Facebook page. And they can find us on Twitter at Whittaker Weekly, one word, no underscore. And that's Whittaker with 2 T's, like the new Doctor, and weekly as in once every other week.
We're probably related to her somehow.
Very, very distantly. We did do some research, and we're about 7 generations out from England, so... Yep.
Anyways...
from English ancestors, yeah. But yeah, they can also find our Facebook page that way. And follow us, like us, for more content.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's it for this week. I've been Andrew.
I've been Lee.
And this has been Whittaker Weekly. Have a great week.